A notable comedy podcast turns 1 year old today. Happy anniversary to Daily Comedy News, started on this day in 2019. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac. I am your host. Thank you for listening, especially if you've been here for most of the year. If you're relatively new, I appreciate you as well as this thing continues to grow. I'll do the late night stuff tomorrow because I've got a lot today. And candidly, I want to go to the beach, so I'm going to pre-record Sunday. I told you I'd do that from time to time. Did you see Dr. Fauci throw out the first pitch of the Nationals game Thursday night? Saw a lot of civilians on Twitter. The jokes that keep sticking in my mind are, hey, looks like Fauci finally flattened the curve. That's pretty good. And the other one was, Dr. Fauci is making sure nobody catches anything. Love those both. Conan O'Brien tweets, Disney World is running a special where your ticket automatically gets you a fast pass to COVID. That's a variation on a joke we've seen a couple times since Disney reopened, right? Stephen Colbert tweets, Trump says he might not accept the 2020 election results. If he needs a recommendation, I have a great therapist who helped me accept the results of the 2016 election. And Mark Maron tweets, one would hope there's some soul searching going on in this country. Quote, am I as fucking stupid as Trump thinks I am? Unquote. All right, if you need something to watch, Jim Gaffigan's The Pale Tourist is now streaming on Amazon Prime. I'm finding myself a little Jim Gaffigan'd out, but we're going to talk about him a lot in the next few days. The folks over at Primetimer reviewed his special and wrote, you know who's a big fan of Jim Gaffigan? Jim Gaffigan. Know who else is? Me. Well, them. I mean, I like Jim Gaffigan. I am not a big fan of Jim Gaffigan, but, you know, he's fine. And they wrote, and this wretched lockdown has done nothing but boost my admiration for the happy Hoosier, who's been a brilliant spokesperson for everyone trapped with families in close quarters. Spoilers coming up. In the first hour of Pale Tourist, Gaffigan apologizes to his Canadian audience for his president, whom he then compares to an alcoholic father, saying, sorry about my dad, we're trying to get the phone away from him. But before Gaffigan crosses the danger line, he backs off and says, Americans are known as being obnoxious. Trump is just turning up the dial. And then he pivots to make fun of the audience. I'm guessing he did this in Gaffigan voice here. We're not polite, we're passive-aggressive. And makes fun of himself, saying, what you don't realize about Americans is that we think passive-aggressive is polite. The article talks about some of Jim's not-so-successful sitcoms over the years and says, Pale Tourist feels like one of those near misses too, but it's less than 2 hours of your life and loaded with laughs, so I'd still recommend watching it. Comedians used to measure their work in 7-minute increments. That was the amount of killer stand-up you needed to get on Carson. For Pale Tourist, Gaffigan researched each country where he was scheduled to do shows, including some walking and talking with the locals. Then he and his wife came up with an hour of material poking fun at the customs, place names, and personalities of that country. Sounds fun. Kyle Kinane also released a new special. It is called Trampoline in a Ditch. I'm not sure where you can find it on video. I saw the audio releases when I clicked on the link, but I'm not sure where on video you'll find it. But Google Kyle Kinane Trampoline in a Ditch. He is one of my favorite comedians. If you made me rank Kyle Kinane and Jim Gaffigan, I would put Kinane above Gaffigan in my personal pantheon for whatever that's worth. Trampoline in a Ditch, according to the Chicago Reader, is more than 90 minutes long, compiled from 6 hours of shows at Madison on State in Madison, Wisconsin. Kinane includes several routines with double-digit runtimes, like his story of being kicked out of Canada that stretches past 23 minutes of laughter. Yikes! Kinane says, the more you tell a story, the longer it gets, the fish gets bigger, the thunder gets louder. He describes his mistakes like a barbecue-dominant diet that led to a gout diagnosis, but always with an undercurrent of hope that he'll be slightly wiser in the future. Kinane says, you've been in enough bars in Chicago that you've heard one guy being boisterous and all the friends laughing. That's all it is. There's no magic to comedy. Every bar in Chicago probably has 3 people in it, better than 95% of the working comedians today. He started his comedy career using the open mic listings in the Chicago Reader, and he said, finding out who wouldn't update their own listing, driving from Addison to the city on a Monday night, to find out that the open mic night hadn't gone on for 4 years. Hey, Netflix has bailed on Chris D'Elia, not surprising here. They have, quote, scuttled plans for an unscripted show featuring comedians Chris D'Elia and Brian Callen after the accusations of sexual misconduct against D'Elia were made public. The deal had been for an unscripted show that would focus on the friendship between D'Elia and Callen and their love of pulling pranks. A spokesperson for Netflix told The Hollywood Reporter that the show, which had not begun production, was scrapped soon afterward of the news of the allegations there. Hollywood Reporter points out that as of Thursday afternoon, The Chris D'Elia specials were still available on Netflix. I'm recording this Friday around lunchtime. I have not checked, but on Thursday they were there, says The Hollywood Reporter. The article also reminds us that Whitney Cummings said that after the allegations, she was devastated and enraged by what she's learned and read. She said, "This is a pattern of predatory behavior. This abuse of power is enabled by silence. Now that I'm aware, I won't be silent. Girls should be able to be a fan of a comedian they admire without becoming a sexual target. It's the adult's responsibility to be an adult." And that is your comedy news on Anniversary Saturday. Again, thank you for listening. Really appreciate that. If you're new, subscribe on Apple or Google. Follow on Spotify. Normal episode tomorrow, although I am going to tape it in about 5 minutes. See you then.